All right, let's get right into this. We're going to start with a pretty technical problem in AI, but believe me, by the end, we're going to be talking about a fundamental principle of the entire universe. It's a wild ride. So let's kick things off with a question that sounds, well, a little paradoxical, right? It feels totally counterintuitive, but it's the key to understanding how intelligence works, whether it's artificial or even our own. It turns out, to get smarter, you actually have to learn how to forget. First up, we've got to wrap our heads around this central problem for modern AI. I'm talking about this staggering cost of trying to know everything, all at once. I mean, what really happens when a machine tries to have a perfect, flawless memory? Yeah, this quote is getting at something called full attention in AI models. Just imagine every single word or token in a huge document having to check in with every other token before it makes a move. It's like a massive parliament where every member has to debate every other member on every single vote. It's super thorough, for sure, but the cost? It just explodes. It becomes computationally impossible, like almost instantly. So this incredible drive for omniscience, for seeing everything, it immediately slams into a wall, a really big one. And that wall is a fundamental law of physics, entropy. You know, the universe's natural tendency to slide towards disorder, uncertainty, and chaos. So you've got this quest for perfect, absolute order running headfirst into the messy reality of the universe. And here's where it gets really cool. This whole problem, it's not new. It's not a computer problem. Life itself tackled this exact same issue billions of years ago. Nature already figured out how to build order and complexity without getting totally swamped by chaos. And that solution points to a universal rule that applies to pretty much any complex system you can think of. If you want to create order and reduce uncertainty on the inside, you have to pay a price on the outside. It doesn't matter if you're a tiny living cell or a giant supercomputer. You have to push disorder out into your environment, and you do that by consuming energy. Creating order is never, ever free. Okay, so this whole idea leads us to a really powerful analogy. It's a way to think about AI that connects what it's doing directly to the basic metabolic processes that keep all of us alive. I love this metaphor, it's brilliant. Picture the AI's world of words, all those tokens, as this big chemical soup, just brimming with potential. Now, attention, that process we talked about, that's the metabolism. It's the engine that burns energy to sort through that soup. And what does it produce? Meaning. Coherent, useful meaning. And that meaning is like ATP, which is literally the energy currency that powers every living cell. And when you put them side by side like this, the parallel is just uncanny. A living cell fights against chemical chaos to stay organized, right? And in the process, it exports heat. An LLM fights against informational chaos or uncertainty to create meaning. And what does it do? It dissipates heat from its GPUs. It's the exact same thermodynamic pattern. It's incredible. So this shared pattern, it's not a coincidence. It's pointing to something even deeper, something truly fundamental. So let's zoom way out for a second and look at the engine that makes anything happen in the universe. Think about life. How does it work? Well, it survives by exploiting differences, what scientists call gradients, specifically chemical gradients. A difference in concentration from one place to another is what powers basically every living thing. It's the same with weather. Why does the wind blow? It's all about exploiting thermal gradients, differences in temperature and pressure. That's what drives everything from a little breeze to a monster hurricane. Even stars, they are the ultimate engines of the cosmos, and they shine because they're harnessing massive gravitational gradients. That's the insane pressure difference between the core and the surface, all thanks to gravity. And here's the punchline. Large language models, they're doing the exact same thing. They work by exploiting probability gradients. They're constantly navigating these slopes of likelihood, trying to find the quickest path down to the most probable, most coherent answer. They're surfing the waves of probability. So because of this massive energy problem, this thermodynamic cost, AI is being forced to evolve. It has to get smarter about how it works. And in the process, it's actually becoming less artificial and a whole lot more like the systems nature has been tinkering with and perfecting for almost 4 billion years. And you can really see that evolution right here. It started with this brute force, godlike approach. See everything. But that just wasn't sustainable. The simple, harsh reality of energy costs forced to change.
To survive, you have to be efficient. And that leads to a much more elegant, much more natural goal. Don't see everything, see what matters.
So, what does seeing what matters actually look like in practice? Well, it looks an awful lot like us. Developers are now building AIs that use strategies straight from nature's playbook. Things like sparse attention, only focusing on the important stuff, memory compression, predicting what's likely to happen next, and the big one we started with, actively forgetting information that's no longer useful. These aren't just clever tricks, they're direct copies of how our own brains work.
And this point about prediction is it's so important. It's not just about being clever or guessing the future. Prediction is fundamentally about energy conservation. Think about it. If you have a good idea of what's coming, you don't have to waste a ton of energy reacting to it from zero. You're already prepared. It is the ultimate survival hack.
Okay, let's pull all these threads together. We've gone from AI to biology to thermodynamics, so what's the big takeaway? What is the actual physical price of creating meaning anywhere in the universe? This is really the heart of it all. All computation is physical. Intelligence isn't some ghost in the machine or some abstract code floating in the cloud. It's a physical process. And because it's physical, it has to play by the rules of thermodynamics. And rule number one is to create meaning, to create order out of the chaos of uncertainty, you have to spend energy. You have to pay the thermodynamic toll. There are no free lunches. And that's why this isn't just a nerdy technical footnote about AI server costs. It's so much bigger than that. The cost of attention is the price of reducing uncertainty. It's the physical cost of creating coherence. It's the toll any system, living or artificial, has to pay to take the infinite, buzzing chaos of possibility and forge it into a single, stable reality.
Which puts intelligence in this fascinating, precarious place. It's a balancing act on a razor's edge. You can't have perfect equilibrium. That's just heat death. Nothing happens. And you can't have pure chaos. That's just noise. Intelligence, life, everything interesting happens in that space between. It happens right there on the gradient, on the slope between total order and total disorder.
So after this whole journey we've been on, from a single token at an AI all the way out to the fundamental laws of the cosmos, we come back to that one question: where does intelligence actually live? The answer is, it lives on the gradient. It's not a place, it's not a thing, it's a process. It exists on the slopes, on the downhill flow of energy and information and probability. It lives right on that edge of chaos, constantly in motion, turning the raw, messy potential of the universe into the focused, coherent energy of meaning.